Together with Jalen Jacoby, what is it that we do?
Give the people what they want.
The people wanted NBA action last night, and they got it. The main event in LA did not disappoint. The Lakers and the Clippers in the Staples Center. And we start at the beginning. Ed, the crowd's reaction when Kawhi Leonard was introduced. Not the warmest welcome for Southern California's own Kawhi, but after a slow start, missing a couple shots, he hit 7 straight shots, giving the Clippers a lead they would relinquish later, but they would eventually win this game 102-112. Jalen, I know you watched this game just like I did. What were some of your biggest takeaways?
Some of my biggest takeaways is never overreact to the first game of the year. And a lot of people in the media and fans are going to do so. What you didn't mention is the Clippers were without Paul George. The Lakers were without Kyle Kuzma and Rajon Rondo. This is going to give the Lakers the depth that they seemed to not have last night. And by the way, they could use another shooter off the bench. Jamal Crawford is available. That's another subject for another day. They got off to a really good start, 11-2 run out of the gate for the purple and gold. Kawhi Leonard took over in the second quarter, as you mentioned, like a dominant player he is. Danny Green took over in the third quarter.
Yes, he did.
Both teams had their runs. And then in the fourth quarter, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, 2 points.
Wait, I'm sorry. They scored 2 points combined in the entire fourth quarter. Two of the best 5 players in the NBA in a close game against a rival on opening night scored 2 points combined. Did you feel like LeBron was a little too deferential in the fourth quarter, as he's been accused of before in his career?
Well, truthfully, here's what I think. The storm of what happened with China has to weigh heavily on LeBron James, psychologically and emotionally. Remember, he's the person that carried that burden, and he's also the person that did the misstep when they put a microphone in front of his face. So I know that some of that still weighs on him. Also, he's 35 years old during this year. He's in his 17th year. He has to pace himself. And on the other side, he going against this young, respectable animal in Kawhi Leonard that's going to score 30 points in 31 minutes. And when you're that efficient like Kawhi Leonard is, now that economy gets spread out throughout the team. Harold can get going. Lou Will can get going. Jermichael Finley can get going. Harkless makes a couple of shots. And before you know it, their bench is really productive. Kawhi was dominant when he needed to be. And the Los Angeles Lakers showed some vulnerability, but that's in an era where teams don't have super squads. So that's going to happen on a nightly basis to a lot of different teams, but I'm not worried about the Lakers.
Jermichael Green, I'm sure you meant. We also have this. Do you remember yesterday we were talking about someone to key on and a player that we thought was really going to perform well for the Lakers? Do you remember exactly who that was?
Danny Green.
Oh, yeah, Danny Green. Well, look what happened. Danny Green had himself a night, led the Lakers in scoring, hit 5 threes in a row at one point. They weren't all wide open shots like we thought he'd get. He's on the move, hitting shots. What do you see from Danny Green last night?
The reason why I anticipated this is what ends up happening is we focus so much on the marquee players, and rightfully so. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. But the core of your team usually are guys that are seasoned professionals and you know what to expect. I know what I'm getting out of Lou Will. I know what I'm getting out of Harold. And I knew what I was going to get out of Danny Green, a championship-level competitor going against his former teammate in Kawhi Leonard, that he was going to show up on the big stage to start the game.
It did look like the Clippers looked really good, and we also had the Lakers showing some deficiencies, but as you mentioned, they had Kuzma and Rondo out, and I'm sure there's a big new group working together. But after the game, Clipper star Kawhi Leonard and Doc Rivers talked about their debut in the Staples Center.
I mean, like I said before, once I'm playing the game, I'm locked in, so I'm thinking about the next play. But before the game, last night, it's a lot of emotions knowing that my family's going to be here tonight. And I'm just back here playing in the Staples in my hometown. It was just amazing.
He was intense.
you could feel that. Like, you can feel the intensity. There's no doubt about that. I think Ty Lue walked over to me and said, told me to just look at him doing I think on the jump ball circle where everybody was moving around, how everybody does all their gestures, and Kawhi was just sitting there. He was, you could just see, he was like, throw the ball up, let's get this on. And Ty was right.
You heard Kawhi Leonard as well there. Do you think Kawhi's family being there really got in his head, like he said?
I think everything matters when you're an athlete, because having that level of support means so very much. This is why on every level, the teams usually play better at home versus their record on the road. And for a guy that won a championship with the Spurs, with the Raptors, finals MVP 2 times over, now he gets the chance to play in his own backyard. It really created the perfect storm that they were able to land Paul George, because I believe, and I stated, had they not been able to trade for him, he would not have joined the Clippers because they didn't feel like they had enough firepower. Adding Paul George got the deal done.
I believe so as well, and a lot of focus obviously is on the Lakers and Clippers game, but the first game of the night was fascinating as well. The Raptors and the Zion-less Pelicans went into overtime. The Raptors eventually ended up winning the game. There were 2 performances that really stood out. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, each had 34 points, and Siakam didn't even play in overtime. Jalen, what did you see from the Kawhi Leonard-less Raptors?
So I mentioned this a couple of times already. The forward position, in particular the 4 spot, is going to be an open opportunity for somebody in the Eastern Conference to claim themselves as an all-star. Pascal Siakam, most improved player last year, an improved shooter, gained a lot by playing alongside Kawhi Leonard. I see his confidence in his game just took a quantum leap. And once they give you that bag, I was like, all I got to do is go out there and ball now. And so I appreciated the 34 points, but I love the 18 rebounds.
Yep.
That's what I like. And the 5 dimes. And Fred VanVleet, he was a guy in the finals that was constant. It was steady. And when you win a championship, you need each guy to have a signature game. And that's what the Raptors had in the finals last year. He was one of those guys. So you can put him on the floor with Kyle Lowry. He can make plays on and off the ball. And when he gets going, he can play like he did in game 1.
On the other side of the ball with the Pelicans, what I saw was Alvin Gentry just seeing like, who's going to play for me? Who's going to play for me? I mean, it seemed like he played every single player on the roster, and I checked, of everyone who was available, only Jackson Hayes, who I really like, did not get on the floor. What did you think about Gentry just kind of putting everybody in and seeing what works?
Well, I know what I'm going to get from Drew Holiday. A seasoned veteran is going to lock down on D, so I'm not worried about his stat line. The stat line I was disappointed in was Lonzo Ball's. Because when you talk about playing a lot of people, he basically only played half of the game. He didn't score double figures in points. Ingram got to double figures. Hart, I liked that he came off the bench, gave him 15, gave him 10 boards. But I wanted to see more aggression out of Lonzo Ball, and particularly on the offensive side.
Absolutely, and he didn't finish the game, which is what's going to happen to you when you can't shoot free throws. But I think that'll change over time as his role expands with the Pelicans. And Jalen, something else has been expanding over the years, and I have to talk to you about it. Tell me, am I just super duper old and washed up and out of touch? Or are these championship rings getting too big? The rings are getting too big. Like, they announced that these were the biggest rings, and I know Drake sung about it, but these rings are too big, right?
I would do anything to have one of those. I really would. So I can't act like that any championship ring would be too big for me. For the Toronto Raptors, making it to the NBA Finals for the first time and winning the championship with Kawhi Leonard on their roster for only 1 season. How about Masai Ujiri adding him, knowing that he was probably going to walk at the end of the year? That's why I have another thing I want to put out there. When Kawhi Leonard returns to Toronto, I need to see 2 things happen.
Okay.
1, they should retire his number.
No, not going to be able to do it. No chance.
2,
no chance.
2, you ready for this one?
What?
Need a statue. Need a statue.
Jalen, please.
Let me explain.
Please. You're the statue guy. What are you even talking about? Are you serious with this?
So let me
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
Let me tell you something that goes under the radar in the NFL and in professional sports that the senior statue analyst didn't let go by. When the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, guess what they did? They put a statue outside of their arena with Coach Doug Peterson and Nick Foles. So you mean to tell me Kawhi Leonard can't have a statue?
Jalen, you will never not impress me with your vast knowledge of statue and statue-related news. But this one, you went too far. You went way too far because you were on TV talking about 99% he stays with the Raptors. It was very much in play for him to stay with the Raptors. He could have stayed with the Raptors, stayed in the East, had this team, had an advanced Siakam, had Fred VanVleet, kept loud. He could have run it back with basically the exact same roster. But he was like, nope, I'm good. Thank you for that 1 year, Canada, entire nation of Canada. I'm out of here. I don't know, man. That's not statue worthy. It is now time for news that matters. Well, a British engineering and manufacturing firm is offering people $130,000. $130,000 if they can make robots with your face. Jalen Rose, would you allow them to license your face so they can make robots with it for $130,000?
Shout to Ray J, who got the life rights of Suge Knight. That's the first thing that came to mind when I saw this.
Okay.
And $130,000 ain't enough to have my likeness for the rest of my life on a robot. Not gonna be able to do it.
What's your number?
For the rest of my life, $130 million.
See, I'll do it for free. The idea that there's a robot walking around with my face on it, I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't bother me one bit. And maybe I could even send him to work to deal with you while I stay home. Coming up next on Jalen and Jacoby, so much going on in sports last night. We haven't talked about the World Series yet. We'll get into it right after this.